Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. If you're here because you purchased my dragon scale mitts pattern and want to learn how to do the Cat Bordhi method, then welcome. If you're here simply because you want to learn the Cat Bordhi method of how to knit two tubular garments at once, then you are also welcome. I hope this tutorial is helpful for everyone. We'll need 2 sets of circular needles. Here I have a pair that I got at my local thrift store that's 24 inches long. That's probably ideal. And then a green pair I inherited from my grandmother. Getting 2 sets with 2 different color needles is really helpful in keeping your knitting organized here and avoiding mistakes. With this method, you don't have to fuss with double points and you can knit both of your mitts at the same time. If you want to learn more, I highly recommend Cat Bordhi's book on knitting 2 socks at once using this technique. Since we're knitting 2 mitts at once, you will need 2 separate balls of yarn. Now these are a little bit smaller than the ones you'll be using if you follow my pattern. They'll be more like this. I'm knitting stripes, so I need smaller balls of yarn. Using the long tail method, I have cast on 32 stitches. Please check out my video if you need help with long tail cast on. I have them on my silver needles, so this is all of the stitches I need for 1 mitt. I'm knitting a tube, so I will need to put half the stitches onto my green needle. Now follow the pattern. If you use a different size, you will need to put a different number of stitches on each needle, so follow the directions carefully. But here I'm adding half of the stitches to the green needle and half will stay on the silver. Once I have slipped the appropriate number of stitches, I'm going to align them with the ribs of the cast on facing each other and the needles parallel to each other. You see how this is going to form the opening of the cuff to the mitten. Now I'm going to grab the ends of my needles very firmly and slide all of the stitches way down to the end. Congrats, you're halfway there. Now we need to put our second mitt on the needle. We're going to start once again with the silver needle. This is going to be my front needle for the entire project. So I'm going to use my other ball of yarn and I'm going to cast on the same number of stitches. Just as I did for the other mitt, I am going to grab my green needle and put half of the stitches onto that needle slipwise. Our Cat Bordhi setup is complete. You can see here how this is going to become a tube. Much like knitting on double points or the magic loop method, it's going to be the cuff of my mitts. Now we have to join them in a round so we can knit those seamless mitts. Remember when I cast onto the silver needle with the red cord? That is going to be my front needle. My green needle with the white cord is going to be my back needle. At any given point in time, you are only knitting with 1 set of circulars. Scooch the stitches down to the end so you can work with them, then grab the other side of the circular and begin knitting in whatever pattern. We're going to be joining these 2 open parts together. Make sure that you don't have any twisted stitches so you don't end up with a Mobius strip. Now this pattern is a knit 1, purl 1 rib, so I'm going to go ahead and knit that first stitch and then I'm going to purl the second. I'm going to just knit down the row until I run out of stitches on my first mitt. Here I've come to the end of my first mitt. I want to set aside the yarn that goes with that mitt and start knitting with the other ball of yarn for my second mitt. Just continue to knit across in the pattern. Here you can really see that those green needles just dangle. I'm completely ignoring them. I'm working across my 2 silver ends of my circular needle as if they were 2 straights or as if I were working with double points. Just as if you were knitting with double points, you take that first stitch and you pull it really snug to avoid making what is called a ladder or a gap in your stitching. Then continue to use normal tension after. Continue to knit until you get to the end of your row. Here you can see I am left with one stitch. I'm going to purl it in pattern and make sure that purl is nice and snug. Now I'm going to make sure that my stitches don't fall off this silver needle. I'm about to let it drop to the back and ignore it, but first I want to pull that tail through so that my stitches don't slip off while I am working with my green needle. Now flip the work over and do the same thing with the green needle as our working needle and the silver needle resting in the back. Let's look at a finished mitt for reference. We just completed the front side of both of the mitts, and now we're flipping it over, and with the green needle, we're going to knit the palm side of both of the mitts. Grab the left-hand side of the green needle, loop it around the back to the right, and we're going to knit with it. Before beginning a row, always make sure your needle colors match and you are only working on one needle. This part is real easy. We just repeat what we did on the first needle. Knit across in pattern. When you get to the end of the first mitt, you want to change balls of yarn and knit across the second mitt. Now we have completed one round. We need to flip back around and knit on our front needle again, but first I want to pull that green needle through so stitches don't slip off. Always keep your work in the middle when you're not working on it. Now I've got my silver needle with the red cord in front again, and I'm ready to begin round 2. Take that left side and flip it around to the right and start knitting. Double check that you have the same color needles as your working needles, and the other needles are hanging to the back. Work across with one ball of yarn. When you get to the break between the two mitts, make sure you stop and switch to your second ball of yarn. We are knitting 2 different garments. Make sure you don't continue with the same ball of yarn across both mitts or you will knit them together. Here you can see the mitts after 5 or 6 rounds of ribbing. They have a lot more structure now, and it's easier to keep the piece organized. As with any knitting piece, those early couple of rows can feel kind of floppy and awkward, and as you build the fabric through your knitting, it all becomes more stable. Making sure to pick 2 different colored circular needles really helps me stay organized. I can tell my silver needles are for the scale side of the knitting, and my green needles are for the palm side. If you need to set your yarn down, take your balls and stuff them inside each appropriate mitt. It keeps everything nice and tidy and organized and nothing gets tangled. I hope this tutorial on how to knit using the Cat Bordhi method was helpful for you and empowers you to get 2 dragon mitts knit at once. If you need other assistance with this pattern, check out the other videos in this playlist. Thanks.